welcome to another car review video on the channel, and welcome to the Porsche Macan T. This is a new model for this year, and it's the first time that Porsche have applied their T specification to one of their four-door models. If you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I've developed a bit of a soft spot for the 991.2 Carrera T that I took on a tour of the Peak District last year. There's a link to those videos up here somewhere. From a design point of view, the Macan T has a few visual changes outside that make it look a little bit more driver focused. We've got the agate, I think it's agate, front splitter, mirrors and side trims, which give it that driver focus kind of look. I think those elements work really well with the new blackened sort of front intake for this facelifted model or midlife model of the Macan. And I think it does make it look similar in its kind of purposefulness to the Carrera T. I really like the trim on the doors that's black with Macan T on it. I think it breaks up the visual weight of the side profile and makes the whole car look lower. I think from my point of view, I think the outside appearance changes do hit the mark. I think I can draw a sort of a visual comparison to the Carrera T that I drove, and I think it does have that slightly more purposeful, slightly driver focused look. It's hard to put your finger on what it is, but I think visually that's how it comes across. It looks a little bit like it's for a driver. So inside, the Macan T gets the T treatment as well. It's got soft tech sport seats, which have the same striped kind of stitching cloth that we saw in the Carrera T, and you get heated seats as standard, and they're really comfortable, and they've got 8-way electric adjustment. One thing that is omitted on the Macan T is we don't get the fabric door pulls that we got in the Carrera T, but as you probably saw if you saw the Carrera T video, I didn't really like those anyway, so I'm quite happy to have the conventional door pulls. We've got the latest version of the PCM infotainment system. It's got a lovely wide screen, and it's very reminiscent of the screen that's in the 992. You've got Apple CarPlay as standard as well, and now we've got wireless charging, which is something that we didn't have in the Carrera T. Sports Chrono is standard, so it's a little bit like the GTS Cayman that I drove, in that you get some really nice options that would be quite expensive to option in to an S model or something like that. This centre console is really up to date. This midlife facelift that's across the range for the Macans has done away with the huge amount of buttons that were there in the previous generation, and we've got haptic controls now. Some people like them, some people don't, but I think it's quite nice that some of the things that you really need to dive for are still physical, but some of the ones that you can spend a little bit more time looking at, maybe before you set out, are haptic. The glossiness of this looks really nice, but it might sort of collect the dust a little bit, and also I might be a little bit worried if my children were in here dragging things across it, so I'm not sure how resistant it is to scratching, but if it is, then it's a beautiful looking thing and it's quite easy to use. From a driving perspective, which is obviously what the T is supposed to be about, you might initially on paper feel a little bit underwhelmed because it does have the same 4-cylinder engine as the standard model with 263 brake horsepower. So you're not really going to have the same performance figures as the Macan S with the V6. So where the T makes up the ground on the Macan S is in the recalibrated chassis. You've got stiffer anti-roll bars, and we've also got a ride height drop by 15 millimeters. If you go for the optional air suspension, that's a drop of 25 millimeters. And these add up to give you a greater driver appeal, which really is what the T model is all about. Not having the V6 at the front end works to the T's advantage as well, because we've got 58 kilograms less on the front end, which makes it a little bit more nimble when it's turning into corners. The 7-speed PDK works really well with the power band of this 4-cylinder engine. And after fighting with my manual Audi on the M1 and the M25 on the way here, I'm really loving the PDK. Porsche have added some rear bias to the 4-wheel drive system, and you can notice it. It does bring back a few memories of the 911 Carrera T. The back end will step out if you provoke it, but I'm not going to do that today. Certainly not on these roads, which are a bit twisty and a bit narrow. even though these roads are quite bumpy, it does ride really nicely on these 20-inch wheels, which are taken from the Macan S. They're a £400 option. So it does have a more entertaining setup with the four-wheel drive system for people who are interested in driving, but you don't lose any of that lovely confidence that the four-wheel drive system of the Macan gives you. So some figures then, for those of you that like the stats. It's got 265 bhp and it's got 400 newton meters of torque. And the top speed is 144 miles an hour. The 0 to 62 time is 6.2. Well, rides over those well. So if you don't see speed bumps until the last minute, the good news is it rides over those pretty well. Fuel consumption is 26 to 28 miles per gallon, so that's pretty good for a car that's this kind of size. Fuel tank wise, as standard, there's a 65 litre fuel tank, but this car has got the optional 75 litre fuel tank, which is £84. I've got the spec sheet for this particular Macan T from Porsche. The base price is £53,970, but this car's individual equipment includes the Carrera white metallic paint, which is £674, the Macan T interior package, which is a zero cost option, fantastic. Roof rails in aluminium painted in black high gloss, £245. Electrically extending tow bar system, £858. Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus, which is £1,052. A 75 litre fuel tank, as we mentioned, which is £84 option, which is 10 litres bigger. A 20-inch Macan S wheels painted in dark titanium, which is a £387 option. Tyre sealing compound and electric compressor, £42, should be free really. Tinted LED lights, including Porsche Dynamic Lighting System Plus, which we saw on the GTS, which sort of follows the road at night. They're really good. That's a £618 option. Tinted LED tail lights, £539. Automatic dimming interior and exterior mirrors, £252. Privacy glass, which is £333. Not sure about that myself. Don't think I'd go for that. Reversing camera, £362. Driver memory package, so it remembers your seat positions, £228. 8-way front sport seats are a zero cost option, as we mentioned. Smartphone compatible with wireless charging, which is a good thing, but it is a £354 option. And the Bose surround sound system, which are always good, £834. And £9 for your first aid kit, which again, I think probably should have been free. So the total price of this particular press car is £60,841. So to sum up then, have Porsche done enough to make somebody who's driver focused opt for the Macan T? For me, I think it's definitely got more appeal for a driver than the standard car, but the differences are very subtle. A lot of them initially are in the appearance, so externally the differences that we talked about, and internally there's those nods to what you recognise as a T. The draw of the V6 engine might be a little bit too much for some drivers, but I think there's enough here to make you want to choose this and the £5,000 over the standard car. And I personally think there's some kudos in the T badge. Talking to Porsche owners and people kind of in the know about Porsches, certainly with the Carrera T, that's become a bit of a thing where it's a kind of almost a bit of a nod that you know your Porsches. So possibly, you know, this car could sort of bathe in that reflected glory by being a T model. On paper, the S is £1,000 more, and it's got a 1.4 quicker to 0 to 62 time. And it's got a 70 mile an hour faster top speed, but does that really matter on UK roads, because you're never going to use it? So, things I really like. Well, let's get the vain stuff out the way first of all. Outside, I do like the way it looks. I like the subtle elements of the trim, and I like the stance of this particular Macan, because it does, as I've said, it does allude to or remind me of the Carrera T, the 991 Carrera T that I drove. I think it has a really good level of comfort. I think it feels a lot more comfortable than the Carrera T, obviously, because it's more of a family car, but it does have that driver focus. These seats are really grippy and lovely and comfortable as well. As I said, I do really like the PDK. Maybe it's my age, everybody goes on about a manual, but this kind of car really suits the PDK. It's a great thing for kind of just driving around town. Then you can have a little bit of a blast in the countryside, and that's what the T is about. I think with me, with Porsche, one of the things that's been a problem at my age is I have 2 children, and I did love the Carrera T, but it didn't have any back seats. And I think this is probably a really cool dad's car because it's a Porsche, which I personally love. It's got that T element that I always lust after, but I can bring the children, I can get all of our stuff in to go away on holiday or do whatever. Certainly, you know, I love the PDK. It's really easy to use when pottering around town, but I've got the paddles obviously on the steering wheel. I love the PCM infotainment system, the fact that I can plug in my phone, or I can just drop it onto the wireless charging is brilliant, and the Apple CarPlay works really, really well. I love the seats, the comfort of the seats, but also the T stitching, again, is a nice touch. But when you push on a little bit in the countryside, it really does start to firm up. I've talked a lot with other cars about this sort of dual personality. I think the personality of this is lovely when you're just pottering around. It feels firm, but not too firm, and pretty comfortable. But when you do start to press on, you do feel it tighten up. Things I don't like, well, it's not really a don't like, but I suppose the engine could be a little bit more characterful. Maybe I would be fine with it initially, that maybe after a few months I might start to think, or maybe it would have been nice to have the V6, maybe because of the sound. So other than that, there's not really a huge amount that I don't like. I could really see myself living with this every day. I think it does tick a lot of the boxes for making the Macan a little bit more focused for somebody who's interested in driving like me. That's about it for this video. Thanks to Porsche GB for the loan of this Macan T. Please like and subscribe if you get the chance, and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I have a new video out. Hopefully lots of more interesting and exciting car videos to come. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.